fuels are still projected to supply the vast majority of the world's energy needs in 2030, about 80%, the same ratio as today. Here, Saudi Arabia deserves special recognition for the benefits to global energy security created by its major investments in production and export capacity. The Kingdom has long played an important role as a moderating force, working to minimize volatility in world energy markets. Just as Saudi Arabia is doing its part, all of the world's energy stakeholders must begin acting with the spirit of partnership and shared endeavor that Saudi Aramco CEO Abdullah Juma recently recommended in Houston. It's clear, he said, that the world needs a full contribution from all forms of energy. Looking to the future, the most readily available and cheapest form of new energy is conservation and energy efficiency. A growing theme here, as more and more energy is required for future development. We've also seen the benefits of energy efficiency in our own business at Chevron. As an enterprise, we've lowered the energy intensity of our own operations by 27% since 1992. There are enormous energy savings available across developed countries and the developing world. We all stand to gain large benefits through increased efficiency, and that also applies here in the Kingdom. The Kingdom presently plays a dominant role in the world's production of conventional hydrocarbons. I believe it can also make a sizable contribution to the world's future energy landscape through emerging forms of energy, a future that will see growing influence from green technology. Ultimately, all countries share an obligation to take the responsible steps needed to build global energy security. That security would be far further advanced if more countries relied on pragmatism, resourcefulness, and collaboration when crafting energy policies. But many countries are still looking for independent solutions. In addition to improved efficiency, encouraging investment in innovative technologies, and supporting research and development, large consuming countries such as the US could also improve access to their own resources. Even within the world's largest energy consuming country, large areas of potential resource remain off limits to exploration and development. This despite our industry's greatly advanced capabilities to recover energy supplies in safe and environmentally responsible ways. Clearly, the path to energy security and environmental security will require collaboration and partnerships. As identified by the NPC study, one of the most pressing issues for collaboration is in the area of climate change. Fortunately, there is growing understanding within both the Kingdom and the United States that addressing climate change will bring significant challenges. Both countries have also determined that carbon management in some form is warranted. Now the discussion focuses on solutions, determining how to meaningfully reduce CO2 emissions without negatively impacting economic development. As we're all aware, there is a range of competing methods to reduce carbon and spur market forces to develop transformative technologies. At Chevron, we believe effective climate strategies will respect some core principles. Chief among these is global engagement. We need coherent national and global approaches as opposed to a regulatory patchwork of competing plans. Here, the world has an opportunity to build on recent momentum. I believe that Saudi Arabia can play a very constructive role in helping the world move forward. The commitments to advance climate change research from the Kingdom, Kuwait, Qatar, and the UAE announced at the third OPEC summit in Riyadh last November are a promising step. And at the same time that there is gathering global momentum towards carbon management, leaders putting policies in place must ensure transparency about the probable consequences. Many of those pushing for swift action lack awareness for the practical implications of implementing such a system. To provide a sense of scale, let's focus for a moment on the US. There are varying estimates about the exact volumes of CO2 that are released in the US, but a quick back-of-the-envelope calculation is telling. To capture and sequester roughly all of the CO2 emissions from the US power generation and industrial sectors, the equivalent of between 50 and 60 million barrels a day of CO2, would require a pipeline system roughly equal to the present U.S. oil and gas infrastructure. Replacing that system today would cost more than $500 billion, a figure which exceeds the gross domestic product of many significant countries, and in fact it exceeds the gross domestic product of Saudi Arabia. We should also ensure that carbon management takes place through a transparent structure that provides broad equal treatment to various economic sectors. Any carbon management system should also apply a measured and flexible approach to avoid large economic disruptions. Ensuring sufficient and reliable energy supplies to support global economic growth while respecting more challenging climate and carbon standards won't be easy. It will take collaboration across borders and experience. And this represents a great opportunity for Saudi Arabia and the United States to lead the development of such a partnership. I see strong and common interests and historical precedents that could bolster this partnership. The Kingdom is the world's largest energy producer, while the U.S. is the largest consumer, as well as being a sizable producer itself. Our countries have a long record of partnership. Our alliance dates back to the Kingdom's earliest days. Chevron is particularly proud of its role in that relationship. This year marks the 75th anniversary of Aramco's founding. That relationship, which was so central to meeting the needs of the 20th century's energy, can be the catalyst to overcome the defining challenges of the 21st century. Success will require fresh thinking and appreciation for what is possible, not simply what has failed. I'm thinking of the bold economic vision that is unfolding to our north, the emerging lines of King Abdullah City. This is the sort of visionary thinking that will help us transcend our challenges. So what would be a reasonable scope for the multilateral partnership that I'm proposing? In the energy arena, there are many areas of potential cooperation. We could work together to enhance recovery of conventional supplies in much the way Chevron is currently assisting the Kingdom with recovery of heavy oil in the Wafra field in the partition neutral zone. There's also a variety of public-private partnership models that can inform the development of an energy and environmental alliance. The cooperation underway between a number of Middle Eastern countries and international universities to establish regional campuses is one such example. Another example is the energy efficiency expertise that Chevron markets to large energy-consuming customers. Through power generation solutions such as solar panels and fuel cells and energy-saving strategies, we have helped a number of customers greatly reduce their power consumption and their carbon footprint. And finally, Chevron has strategic research partnerships with a range of academic, government, and commercial institutions to develop next-generation energy sources from a variety of feedstocks. I could continue offering examples, but the key element is the concept of partnership. The transformative technologies needed to meet future energy demand require collaborative approaches. We can't determine precisely how the world of energy will evolve under the pressures of future demand growth, climate concerns, and the advent of innovative technologies, but we do know that the most promising means of shaping that evolution is to foster a collaborative response through alliances and partnerships. And for that reason, the Jeddah Economic Forum is an appropriate venue in which to begin that conversation. The alliance I'm proposing would naturally be beneficial to the Kingdom and to the United States, but the largest beneficiaries of the progress we stimulate could well be people who are not yet participating in the global debates over energy, climate, and economic growth. Those with the most at stake in this conversation are the billions of people currently lacking access to affordable and reliable energy. The consequences of poorly planned energy policies could be regressive, potentially placing the energy to achieve higher living standards out of reach for many millions of people. That powerful driver of emerging human needs should be a catalyst for cooperative effort on energy issues from the world's largest energy stakeholders. It is for the sake of the world's 3 billion people living in poverty, as well as our collective interests, that Saudi Arabia and the U.S. should lead development of global energy policies that are both environmentally and economically sustainable. There is an old Arab proverb that bears repeating. It warns, "In the desert of life, the wise travel by caravan, only a fool travels alone. So let's open that dialogue. Let's wrestle with the large challenges of climate and expanding prosperity. Let's dispel the myth of energy independence. Let's encourage all the world's energy travelers to wisely join with us. And let's begin the partnership here in Jeddah. Thank you very much.
Peter, thanks very much for the global view of the alliances that are underway. I've been very fortunate to have covered the energy market and specifically the machinations within the OPEC cartel going back to about 1988-89. And as a result of some of the activities we've seen for the last 15 years, it's been fascinating to watch the moves and the alliances that have emerged, particularly in this region. Last year at the Eurasia Media Forum, I had a chance to chair a panel on pipeline politics, and it opened my eyes to the distribution networks that have been set up around the globe, specifically if you look from Eastern Europe into Western Europe and the political thought process that goes into place to establish those networks. But there's some other alliances that have emerged over the last 5 years which have, are worth noting. For example, with Iran and a partnership with Turkey, which is now at a memorandum of understanding stage to ship gas into the Turkish market, then into the Bosphorus for distribution into Western Europe. Another story that I've covered through my time in the energy markets is what's been labeled within the media as the peace pipeline. And this peace pipeline would take natural gas from Iran, pipe it through to Pakistan and down into India. So you're looking at two long-term adversaries in the past, in particular with India and Pakistan actually sharing resources from a source like Iran to provide security into the region. Now, one would say that's fantastic economic prosperity that would be delivered to Iran, but if you look at the geopolitical nature of that sort of relationship, it's thinking in a much, much bigger context to bring these forces together and provide an open dialogue, of course, between Pakistan and India, particularly during this period of transition. There was, if I can say candidly as an American citizen, a lot of resistance to such a move. Let's see if those sort of alliances and what Peter was talking about because of the 21st century demand and the requirements of greater thinking, those things emerge where we find a common ground to make them happen. That's an interesting backdrop for an introduction to our next speaker. Let's, with an honor, invite Dr. Ali Reza Attar, the Deputy Foreign Minister of Iran, to pick up on the alliances established by Iran to date and how he sees the global energy alliances emerging after the discussion by Peter Robertson. Doctor, thanks.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audiences. Allow me at the outset to express my deep appreciation to the forum organizers for having me invited to confer with present eminent persons on the most crucial issue of nowadays. Energy, apart from being an essential element of economic growth, is becoming one of the core agenda of new era of international relations, and has provided itself as determining factor in adjusting international political fronts in recent years. And maybe this is the reason that Deputy Foreign Minister is representing Iran in energy.